Why is Spider-Man so great with comebacks? Because with great power comes great responsibility. Dolly and I welcome you to Lassoed Loot Volume 295. You know who's invited to a Dolly party? Everyone but Jolene. Glad that you're here today. We're going to look at some Spider-Man recent additions into my comic book collection, plus some other fun titles, maybe a few things that you might not expect. I'm looking forward to visiting with you today. If you're not subscribed to the channel, I hope you're taking this opportunity to do so. It's a great way to show support. Give this video a thumbs up, a like, and a heart because the algorithm enjoys that and it helps me out a bunch. Thank you for your continued support with my YouTube channel. I certainly do appreciate you. You know, we're at Lassoed Loot Volume 295. We're getting so close to 300. In my mind, I'm starting to kind of plot out how episode 300 could go. I'm actually kind of curious, what do you expect from an episode 300? Do you expect it to be something bigger or more than a typical episode would be just because it's volume 300? I mean, do you want key book or books? Do you want first appearance, first appearance, first appearance, first appearance, first appearance? Does things like that even matter to you? That's kind of what I'm wondering. Leave me a comment below and let me know what you're thinking or expecting from the upcoming Lassoed Loot Volume 300, which really isn't all that far away. I know next week we'll talk more about some of my plans for it. Right now, though, I'm ready to get started with today's loot. Spider-Man is the place to begin Lassoed Loot Volume 295, especially since he has a new movie out in theaters this week, which I'll talk about later on. Spidey Super Stories from 1977, issue 28, is where I begin today. John Romita did this cover. Win Mortimer did the interior writing for all three of the stories. The first story, based on the title, is pretty self-explanatory. It's Spidey versus the Gibbon. Then we have a solo story following that called Flowers of Evil. And then for our final story, which the cover comes from, Medusa guest stars in Just in Time. Medusa first teamed up with Spider-Man in this comic series in issue 4, which is the oldest of the Spidey Super Stories that I have in my personal collection. Spidey Super Stories were a tie-in with the Electric Company, and on the front you can see that Easy Reader approves the reading of this issue. Easy Reader was a character on the Electric Company, and do you remember who played Easy Reader? It was Morgan Freeman. Points to you if you remember that. Each story, which as I said is meant for introductory readers, always had a guest star, Spider-Man teaming up with someone else from the Marvel Universe. A lot of times it was lesser known or newer characters that they wanted to introduce to a new younger audience. I think it's cool that they brought Medusa back because there weren't a lot of repeats in the Spidey Super Story series. Another one that I picked up for my collection from Volume 1 is issue 44. We're now at 1979. Spidey Super Story is not the easiest for me to find out in the wild, at least in my area. I don't know if that's the case for you. I know I showed one in Comic Book Editions, Volume 259, but that's been a while. So Spidey and the Vision are together, and they're taking on Dr. Time. There's also a story called The Wizard is Odd, and that's the Spider-Man characters in Peter's world merging with the Wizard of Oz in a brief little story. And then we have a Doc Ock story called No News is Bad News. And that wraps it up. There's always a special stamp on the back with the guest superhero for that issue. There's a few more, a good handful of Spidey Super Stories I'd like to get in my collection. I know they're not canon. I just think that they're a lot of fun, which when I get the chance to find them in the wild, as I said, not the easiest thing, I want to make sure that I do add those in. So hopefully you'll see some more Spidey Super Stories added to Lassoed Loot feature videos. We'll get back to comic books in a little bit, but I have some Spider-Man posters that have been added into my collection, starting with this nice Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man issue 1 facsimile poster that was released a few months ago. Now in 2022, they did a facsimile of Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man issue number 1, which I grabbed at that time. This year, they also reissued it as a facsimile, but had a poster to go with it, and I love that cover, so I didn't want to miss out on that. I do have an original copy of issue number 1 from 1976. As a matter of fact, I have a consecutive run of Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man from number 1 through 126, which was a goal of mine. I love those stories. I was very surprised at how well they've held up throughout the decades. There's a couple clunkers here and there, and if you look back in my videos, you'll see some. When I was adding those Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man comic books into my collection, you'll see some Spectacular Spider Haul videos where I talk about the individual issues. I also want to mention that this issue number 1 happens to be my back issue of the week. So I dropped that short yesterday morning, and if you want to learn all about the events that took place in the first issue of this Spider-Man title, check out that short from yesterday. I have some promo posters. I don't know if I'm going to have enough space to show all of them, but I'll just kind of show you real quickly that it's what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's one of the folded promo posters for Amazing Spider-Man issue number 129. This was a 2003 facsimile and a 2003 promo poster to promote the facsimile. Recently, just a few weeks ago, they reissued that facsimile as well, but one of the interesting things that they did, instead of taking the yellow background and keeping it as is, they made the background blue and foil. And I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't buy it. I still might. I am a little bit tempted to get that. I know it's just a different color foil. Would you buy it just because they changed the background color? It looks so cool though. So I'm still considering that, but I do have the poster. When I was a childhood collector, this is a long, long time ago, I would get, a budget of around $10 to go to the comic book store, and you could get a lot of comic books at that time. And I would always divert $3 to new or newer issues and the rest to back issues. I love buying the back issues. And I remember at one time they had they had Amazing Spider-Man issue 129, first appearance of the Punisher, and that was $10. And I kind of wanted it, but I'm like, that's going to take my entire budget. I don't want to blow my entire budget on that one comic book. How I wish that I could turn back time. But as we know, not even Cher can turn back time. And then another promo poster I had from a few years back. I'll just open it up again. Even though it's not the easiest to display these with the space restrictions I have, I want to show you that I'm not fibbing to you. It's one of this promo poster. Yeah, it's got some black suit Spidey there. So essentially, the promo poster was done for Spider-Man Black Costume Saga by Charles Vess Omnibus. That was released in 2024, so was the promo poster to coincide with the promotion of it. That original image came from Web of Spider-Man number 1, which was a Christmas 1984 comic book release. That launched after Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man issue number 100. I am doing an all Spider-Man themed post. I started on Sunday and I'm doing it all this week on my Instagram at The Magic Lasso. So check out a whole bunch of different Spider-Man covers, and I'll try to get a black suit one in there sometime this week too. But all these different Spider-Man covers from different titles that he's been in that I've never shown on Instagram that come from my personal collection. So hopefully you'll check that out on Instagram. I am going to see the movie on Thursday. I have tickets for Thursday at 6 p.m. So that will be my chance to see the new Spider-Man movie. I just want it to be good. That's all it has to be. Just be good and entertain me. I'm looking forward to it. When are you going to get the chance to see the Spider-Man movie? Are you going to go see it in theaters? Like I said, I just hope it's a good movie. That's what I want. It's the DC segment of the show, but the first book up is actually a DC and Marvel collaboration. They've been doing the JLA versus Avengers facsimiles, which make me extremely happy. Here is the recently released facsimile for issue 3, but it's the 1 in 25 Skottie Young incentive cover. I love this. This is so cool. Marvel did incentive covers on the 2 books they released, but DC didn't do incentive covers on the facsimiles that they released, which was kind of a bummer. I also bought the great Alex Ross connecting cover, which had the Avengers for this one, and the next month's variant will have the Justice League. Pretty cool image. There is a foil variant. So for issue 1 and 2, I bought the foil variants, but for issue 3, the foil variant, the colors were so muted from the A cover. I just couldn't get into it. So right now I've skipped the foil variant for this. I don't know if that's a mistake skipping out on that or not. This is a wraparound cover, and I do have my Comic Clear comic board on. And we get some more great images on the flip side. I bet Scottie Young had a fantastic time drawing this. I love that he even included Carol Danvers in the black suited Ms. Marvel costume, the lightning bolt costume that I love so much. So it's a fun homage. I haven't been getting, oh, it's not, yeah, I guess it is kind of an homage in a way of some of the Who's Who covers, and yeah, the Who's Who's cover. I think it's kind of an homage of that. I bet Scottie Young had so much fun doing this. I haven't been picking up incentive covers a lot recently, so it was nice to be able to get this. This seems to be going fairly high on some of the online auction sites and in the secondary markets too. I lucked out getting this and getting it at a great price. Here's a comic book that I'm not very crazy about the artwork on the cover. Just going to say that starting out. It's Superman and Wonder Woman, Whom Gods Destroy, and this is issue 3. This was a 4-issue Elsewen miniseries done in 1997. Dusty Abel does the cover and interior art, but it's written by Chris Claremont. I've had the first 2 issues of this for, my gosh, decades, and I don't know if I've ever picked them up and read them. I think the artwork's kind of kept me a little bit shy from doing that. But I thought, especially since I had a chance to get another issue that I was missing, I'm like, pick it up. I mean, it's Chris Claremont. I can't imagine that the story's going to be bad. So I'm going to eventually get the 4th issue and then sit down and read them all at once and hopefully enjoy it. That's the plan. If you've read this title or have memories of this title, make sure to let me know. Kind of from the little skimming I did in reading about this particular issue, like Lois Lane has become Wonder Woman, which is an interesting concept. And she ends up fighting Diana from Themyscira. And then there's some issues with Lana Lang. I think she became maybe a Minotaur or something like that. And has an apparent death in this issue when Superman flies her out into space. That's kind of at least from the bits and pieces that I picked up from the summary of this issue. Like I said, when I actually sit down and enjoy the entire set, we'll see if that is as factual as the internet has led me to believe. But I will be getting issue 4 soon, and you'll see that in a forthcoming Lassoed Loot video soon. By the way, I still have more Wonder Woman, not a comic book, but more Wonder Woman to share with you in today's video. Right now, though, let's go over to Image. Usually I only buy the big 2, Marvel and DC. This ROM number 1 was a secret foil variant that came from the Mask blind bag last month, June of 2026. I have 7 different issues of ROM, all from Marvel, in my comic book collection. And mostly it's because of the guest stars that he has in those issues, like X-Men or the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants / the Sisterhood. Alpha Flight guest stars in some of the ones I have, and there was a Secret Wars 2 crossover that I have. So the ROM that I have is just basically because of the crossovers. I didn't expect to enjoy this book, but I really did. There is a ROM special number 1 that's going to come out that will reprint this surprise first appearance from the Energon universe. This was written by Robert Kirkman, and he is one of the hottest writers right now, and I can see why. Truly did enjoy this. Cover art and interior art by Lorenzo Di Felici, if I pronounced that correctly. Hopefully I did. Rom, he's missing an arm. He's missing a lot of his memory. And he has this cape type thing that's almost like of a jellyfish consistency that understands him and responds to him, which he calls carpet. So it's an interesting story. I know Rom's going to show up in some of the Void Rival series, and I'm not saying I'm going to buy that, but I'm just saying that I really enjoyed this comic book so much more than I thought I would. So this was another book. I haven't looked at it since, but when it first started popping, because nobody knew this was coming out of these blind bags, when it first started appearing and popping online in the secondary markets, it was selling quite high for a brand new comic book. So I'm not sure if that's held up in value or not, but since it's a good story, I'm glad to have it into my collection. Let's wrap up today's video with some Wonder Woman as promised. Each year, Hallmark has a Wonder Woman ornament. They've been doing this for quite some time. This is the brand new Wonder Woman ornament that was launched for July of 2026. Christmas in July is when they launch their first wave, and then they do the rest like in October, September, October, something like that. This one's a little bit smaller than what they typically do. I know her ornament last year was of Linda Carter spinning around to the Wonder Woman TV show theme song. And how do you top something like this? I mean, I recognize the artwork that this is based on. They actually did a pretty good depiction of it, I thought, when it came to the ornament rather. Granted, it's a little bit smaller than I would have liked, but it wasn't as expensive as some of the other ornaments for Wonder Woman have been in the previous years. So I'm going with it. And have it already secured for my Christmas 2026. So we're coming to an end of Lassoed Loot, Volume 295, Fanboys Live and the Retro Review. Signature King Tony, SK Tony, and Silver Hair Bronze Age Babe and myself will be on Sunday night at 8:15 p.m. Eastern, 7:15 p.m. Central here on my YouTube channel. We're talking about Starfire Volume 1. We're going to talk about the first 3 issues. And this Starfire is not the same one that you know from the Teen Titans. It's not the same one that was a man from Russia. It's not him either. It's a totally different Starfire that we'll be discussing, one that I've never read but have been curious about. So I hope you can tune into the greatest DC comic show on YouTube, Fanboys Live and the Retro Review. Don't forget to vote for us for Best Live Stream, Fanboys Live and the Retro Review in the Comic Book Community Awards. We would appreciate that. We have to get the most nominations during this time period to become a top 5 finalist, which is why we're campaigning and asking for your support. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought about everything that I shared in this Lassoed Loot 295 video. Your comments are welcomed, encouraged, and appreciated. If you have any of this stuff in your collection, if you're hunting any of this stuff, I want to talk about it. Share that with me, and I look forward to seeing you in the comment section. I'll also look forward to seeing you for our next Lassoed Loot 296 video next week. Until then, have a happy, healthy, and safe week, and thanks again for watching. Take care.